Welcome to the very first CCPD podcast. My name is Taylor. I'm a current senior at St. Mary's, and I'm an English major and education minor.
And I'm Bella. I'm also a senior. I'm an environmental studies and Spanish double major, biology minor.
And our first guest today on our podcast is Joanne Goldwater. We have a few questions just to get to know what Joanne does around campus and the resources that she can provide us. So, would you like to?
Sure. I'm excited to be here and to be your first. Ooh, very cool. I'm Joanne Goldwater. I'm currently the Associate Dean for Retention and Student Success. I've been here at St. Mary's, since 1993, which is awesome. I'm a wife to my husband, Leon. We met here, as a matter of fact. His mother worked here, and she introduced me to him.
Wow.
So I knew her longer than I knew him. And she must have liked me, so she put me with him, which is great. Fun stories with that. I have 3 wonderful stepsons, Brandon, Justin, and Ryan. I have 2 daughters-in-law, Kristen and Tessie. I have 3 wonderful grandchildren who live way too far away, Logan and James and Stevie Grace. Finally, a girl in the family. But they live in Wisconsin, for God's sakes. Give me a break. And let's see, I am the younger sister of Bobby and Jimmy, and I have a sister-in-law, Shannon. I am an aunt to Vega and Rebecca, who is married to Thomas, who is a St. Mary's alum, which is amazing. And I did not introduce them. They found each other, which was pretty amazing. Let's see, what else do I want? I love working at St. Mary's. I have the best job on campus, bar none. People may argue that, but they would be wrong. I have the best job. Let's see, want to know what I like to do?
Yes, just tell us a little bit more, can we get a full picture of Joanne Goldwater? We know you as someone who is on campus, who works with a lot of students, and we want to learn more about that. But also, what are your passions? What are things that you're interested in learning more about? How do you continue to be a learner at a college institution?
College students keep me learning. They keep me current on popular culture. I had conversations with students in my sign language class last semester, and they would use some terminology, and I'd go, "What are you saying?" And they would teach me about Riz and all sorts of stuff. And that was very helpful because I'm almost 66 years old. I don't keep up with all of that stuff, so I depend on students to bring me up to speed on things that I really should know since I'm working with so many college students. I enjoy running and walking and signing to music, since I do teach our sign language class on campus. I'm also the Seahawk family liaison, so I talk regularly with parents, which I enjoy doing now, much more so than I did 30 years ago. I listen to Audible books all the time. Love doing that. That's great. Nice. I also am a very proud cancer survivor. I had breast cancer 15 years ago. I've had 2 bouts of malignant melanoma. I want to normalize talking about health stuff. When I had my diagnosis, I was very scared and didn't know a lot of people to talk to because no one talked about breast cancer. Oh, you can't say breast. And I want to normalize it and help educate our community here on campus that cancer is treatable, it is beatable if you catch it early. And to talk about other medical issues so that we're not frightened and talking in whispers because, we can't use that kind of word. I had a hysterectomy a few years ago because I had uterine fibroid tumors. I had brain surgery a few years ago because I had a benign brain tumor, a meningioma. We need to talk about this stuff and take away some of that fear. So that's part of what I am very passionate about, to help people feel better, to learn, to educate themselves, and not be so frightened. I have been here at St. Mary's I came as the Director of Residence Life. Then I became the Assistant Dean for Residential Services, and I supervised the Office of Student Activities and Health and Counseling at the time. And then I became Associate Dean of Students, and then I became the Associate Dean for Retention and Student Success in 2016. And I love my job. I've got a great office. I want people to come visit me. I've got 2 great rocking chairs, snacks, chocolate, bottled water, fidget toys. Come on over and visit me.
Rocking chairs are great.
I've heard a lot
been
about
in the
them.
office.
Yeah.
Love a rocking chair.
That's what I'm talking about.
Very homey feel.
I try to live my life by a motto that it comes from a verse in the song My Corner of the Sky from the musical Pippin. Isn't it? And the line is, don't you see, I want my life to be something more than long. And that means everything to me. That was my high school quote. I've lived it my entire life. When I retire, sometime in the not far distant future, I need to still have purpose and meaning in my life. I need to not just exist. There has to be a reason. And I want to continue helping people.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
that's
beautiful.
how I live my life.
Love that. Yeah, I love your motto. It's really powerful to live your life that way. So you talked us through a couple of the positions that you've had at St. Mary's over the years, but what originally brought you to this area, and what has kept you here all this time?
The person who was the Dean of Students back in 1993, a woman by the name of Charlene Newkirk. I knew her at Western Maryland College, where I worked before coming here, as Charlene Cole, and she was my supervisor there. I met her, actually, fun story, I started when she was on maternity leave, so I didn't meet my boss until about 9 weeks after I started, which was kind of weird, but it worked out well. We worked very well together. She left Western Maryland to go to Arizona, then she came to St. Mary's. And she had a position open. It was the associate director of residence life. And she called me and said, I want you to apply for this job. I said, well, I'm an associate director now. I'm looking to move up. No, trust me, you want to apply for this job. For you, Charlene, okay, I will. So I applied. And she called me and said, I'd like to offer you the associate director position. I said, Charlene, I'm in job searches for director positions. Trust me, she says. 24 hours later, she called me back and said, I need to rescind that offer. Wait, what? I haven't even had a chance to tell you anything. And she said, I need to rescind the offer because now I'm offering you the director of residence life position. And I went, wait, what happened to Ken? Well, apparently he was not happy that she offered me the job, so he up and quit. And that's how she gave me the job, which is what she really wanted to do. She wanted him out, so that's how I became the director of residence life. And I've stayed here, one, because my husband, I met him, I got here in 93, met him late 94, December of 94. We got engaged in April of 95, got married in July of 95. Wow. When you know, you know. Okay? And so I've stayed here primarily because of him. He had a parenting agreement with his ex. We couldn't take the children more than 60 miles away. There were no 4-year housing programs within that 60 miles. And as the director of residence life, I wanted to stay doing residence life work. So we stayed here for that. I had planned on being here for 4 years. I was going to leave after 4 years, one cycle of students, go to a bigger place, work on my PhD or my EDD, all of that good stuff. And then met Leon, fell in love with St. Mary's. This place is spectacular. It's unique. It's special. The St. Mary's Way is amazing. I can proudly say I was on the committee that created the St. Mary's Way back in 1997. It's just a wonderful working environment, and our students are just so doggone amazing. And the sunsets, well, whatever, and the river. But having the opportunity to work with such talented students, I go to SMPs and go, what are you saying? How do you know this stuff? You are so brilliant. I don't understand most of it, but I appreciate the hard work that they do and how much they appreciate the education they're getting here. Because we have that small private school feel at the public school cost. So you're getting the best of all worlds, and that's amazing. And our students know it, and they appreciate it. And so that's kept me here. It's the people that have kept me here. I love it.
Thank you so much for sharing. Now that you're specifically talking about the students and all of that information, we're just a little curious about how the student experience at St. Mary's has changed since your time here, and like what aspects have remained the same.
Well, when I first got here, a whole lot of partying. Back in the 80s, this school was known as a party school. Big time. Made lists for party schools. Princeton Review, all that, whatever. And then we became the Honors College the year before I got here. And we spent a number of years grappling with what the heck does being an Honors College really mean. So that was one aspect. But our students, they liked to party. And they had lots of traditions having to do with partying, which is not abnormal. I mean, all schools have that. I think it's kind of toned down a little bit. I'm not involved with the party scene anymore since leaving residence life. I don't know about the parties on campus. But I know that we're not talking about students partying all the time like we used to. So I think that's a difference. We had less parental involvement 30 years ago. And when we did have parent involvement, we kept them at arm's length. We did not want the parents to be involved, let your kids do their thing, leave us alone. And at times it was pretty adversarial when the parents would be calling and complaining about one thing or another. Now I'm the Seahawk family liaison. I'm kind of a parent whisperer. And I spend a lot of my time talking with and working with the parents. And I actually enjoy it now. Part of the reason is because I'm older than all the parents. And so there's a certain amount of respect that comes with that, as opposed to when I was 35 years old and the parents were walking all over me. I look now more at the parents as being partners. It's like a three-legged stool. It's the parents and the college working together to support the student and to help the student be successful. And we have to have that partnership because students today are much more involved with their parents. With the cell phones. I'm walking around on campus and I see students talking on their cell phones with their parents or texting, and we didn't have that when I was in college or when I first got here. It's everywhere now. When I was in college, my parents were lucky if I called them collect once a month. That just didn't happen. And now students are talking to their parents multiple times a day, and I know that because sometimes parents call me and they say, I haven't heard from Pat Glutz. Pat Glutz is my favorite made-up name. I haven't heard from Pat all day. It's okay. They're probably in class. They're doing club stuff. They're going to practice. They're with their friends. But they always call me. Take it easy. We'll take care of this. We'll find them for you. But that's something that has happened over the last few years. I think students 30 years ago bounced back a little more easily than students today because they had more opportunities to learn how to have that grit, that resilience. Nowadays, parents try to protect their students so much more than we did 30, 40, 50 years ago. So I think that's a little bit of a difference. That being said, though, students, when they need to bounce back, they're learning some really important skills nowadays. Some of that has to do with COVID. They've survived COVID. I never thought we would have a pandemic. The pandemic plan that I was asked to put together back in 2006, having to do with SARS, doesn't look anything like the pandemic plan we actually had to put in place back in 2020. But then again, we didn't have the technology back then. But that, I think, has helped allow students to develop resilience. It's destigmatized mental health issues, for sure. People talk much more openly now about mental health stuff than they did 30 years ago. And that's really important and very good. I think 30 years ago, students tended to flaunt rules more so than they do now. We don't want your stinking rules. And students today seem more comfortable within guidelines. Still want to go off the path. Yeah, I get that, but much more comfortable with that than I think they were 30 years ago.
Now, do you think that might be from, like, with the rise of social media, there's a rise of accountability with that? Do you think that that could be a cause for, less?
Could be. I think, it's generational. My generation, rules, whatever. And that went on for the next generation. And then because parents became so much more focused on protecting their children, okay, you have to do this and this and this after school. On Monday you do this, on Tuesday that, Wednesday that. And so the students weren't allowed as much freedom and independence. So they're more used to working within those guidelines. My parents told me I have to do this, so I do this. My parents, on Saturday mornings after watching cartoons, I'd be out of the house and they wouldn't know where I was for hours. Somebody would feed us. Somebody would make sure if we messed up, they would discipline us, and then they'd call our parents and tell us that we messed up. And then as long as we're home, either by dinner time or when the lights on the streets came on, no big deal. Nowadays, that just doesn't happen anymore. So I think students of today are much more regimented than we were when I was coming up, and more so than our students 30 years ago. I think what is still the same, our students are dedicated to their educations. We have magnificent student leaders who are very hardworking, very caring, dedicated to doing the best they can as student leaders. That's the same today as it was then. And I appreciate that, because that student leadership piece is so critical for the success of our students. And the sense of community that we have. Now, I know some people think, the students aren't coming out to my program, so they're apathetic. No, our students are focused on the things that are important to them. But when we need to come together as a community, our community comes together so beautifully. It's amazing. So many instances of when that has happened in the past, because it's September. We had an incident on September 5th, 1998, where students were partying on Townhouse Green, did not want to quit at 1 o'clock when quiet hours started, wouldn't listen to the RAs, wouldn't listen to the area coordinator who came out to try and get the party stopped. Public safety asked the area coordinator, what should we do? You want us to call in the local authorities? And the area coordinator said, sure, why not? So a police car came, the sheriff's deputy. And someone in one of the Morcell townhouses had the bright idea to throw fireworks out of the window at about the same time that someone threw a bottle at the police car. That erupted into quite the problem. We had, by the time I got called and returned to campus, must have been around 2 o'clock, there were like 9 police cars, 2 K-9 units. At the point that I got here, there were 16 students who were arrested, sitting on the ground. There was a police helicopter flying around the Townhouse Green with its searchlight on. I could see it as I was coming down Route 5. Oh my God, that was not a good night. It gave us an opportunity to educate our students about how you interact with the police, and when you don't want to get in their faces, which was an important educational moment, but the community came together to support the students who were arrested, and they came together the next day to want to know, what do we do about the situation moving forward, because we don't want this to happen again. So that was really impressive. We have unfortunately lost a few students. They've died for various reasons, and our community always comes together to support their friends, each other, the families, the faculty and staff who are upset, all of that. We've had protests and marches on campus for Black Lives Matter, living wage protest. That one didn't go as well as I would have liked, but we had it. Say My Name, to encourage people to start using people's preferred names, not their dead names. And then the whole fall of 2011, that was just a semester to remember. But our community came together so very well. We had started with the earthquake out of Virginia that hit the campus, and everything was shaking. That was a couple days before orientation started. The first night that the first years were on campus and before we had the safety conversations with them, we had a tornado warning during dinner. What do you do with 350 people who are eating dinner in the great room where there are lots of windows? That weekend we had a hurricane, so we had to postpone having the students move in, the returning students move in, and we had water infiltration in several of the residences. Prince George and Caroline at the time were the only two residences where the first years were living that were air conditioned, and we over chilled the buildings that also had the water infiltration, so we had mold and a lot of it. At mid-semester we had to have everybody move out of the two buildings right around midterms because we had to eliminate the mold because of the health issue. So we had the students living in 3 hotels in town. One is now the La Quinta, the Sleep Inn, and then across the river at the Holiday Inn Express, so they had to cross the bridge. We had to provide the transportation. Nightmare. But thanks to our waterfront director, Adam Werbelow, and some of our trustees, and Chip Jackson, who was involved with facilities at the time, we were able to get a cruise ship to campus.
Yeah.
And I added a new title, Cruise Director. It was great. So we put 240 students on the ship that was moored over at historic St. Mary's Pier. The Dove, when you look at the Dove by itself, it's a nice size ship. You put a river cruise ship next to it, and it looked like a toy ship. But we had our students living on that ship for 7-8 weeks. The whole community came out to help the students bring their stuff on board. At the end of the semester, help the students disembark. We did all sorts of things to support the students, and the community, our faculty, staff, students, everybody was just so accommodating and helpful and wonderful about that. But it was very memorable. We also had our first case of bed bugs that semester to top everything off. So it was just a hellacious, sorry, maybe I shouldn't be using that word, but it was a memorable semester. And on top of everything else, 1 year after I finished my breast cancer treatment, on the day we started having the students disembark from the ship, my doctor called me and said, "You have a brain tumor."
Oh my goodness.
Seriously? How could this be happening this semester? But, yep. So that was fun. But again, our community came together, and that was the most fabulous thing. So, I love that about this place.
Yeah, you just told us about some of the ups and downs of student life, and you've obviously been very deeply involved in student life and student success. Can you tell us about the mission of OS3 and what kinds of support students can find there?
Absolutely. We do our best to connect students to the people, programs, activities, services, resources, whatever, that will help them be successful in and out of the classroom, because we know what happens outside the classroom impacts what happens inside the classroom and vice versa. We want to help them thrive and persist to graduation. And I think we do that pretty darn well. We provide academic coaching, things like time management, study skills, test prep, how to debrief after you get the test back, how to avoid procrastination, sleep management. Not all college students get enough sleep, so we need to help them with that. Stress management, accountability, making sure that they're doing what they really need to be doing and not going off on tangents and that sort of thing. We give them how to participate in class, tips on how to do that without necessarily having to raise your hand and be called on. You can still participate non-verbally. We connect students to the free tutors that we have. My office pays the tutors, so students have no excuse not to have tutors. The tutors do very well in those classes. They've already taken the classes. Don't you want to work with someone who did well in the class? Yes. We also connect the students to our PASS specialists, the Peer Academic Success Strategy specialists, because we know that some students don't want to talk to a soon-to-be 66-year-old. They want to talk to a peer. I'm okay with that. I don't care who gives them the information as long as they get the information and it's accurate. We connect students to each other with activities and programs because that sense of belonging is critical for them to feel comfortable and want to stay here. We have our Slate Early Alert System, which has replaced Beacon. I'm in charge of that, so that we can intervene early before a student really falls off and can't recover their grades, or they're in a difficult relationship or a situation that's out of their control. We want to try and help mitigate those circumstances. We assist students with appeals to the Academic Policy Committee, to financial aid because they need to get their financial aid back. Their grades may have dropped a little bit too much. So we help students with those appeals. We help explain college policies. Have either of you actually read the student handbook entirely?
Before freshman year, yeah, but that was
Wow.
Okay.
so long ago.
Have you read the entire college catalog?
Oh, no.
Mhm. Kind of important. There are policies and procedures and rules and stuff in those two very important resources. We help students understand what all of that means. So that takes some quality conversations. We notify faculty when a student's going to be missing class because of a medical reason. We don't go into the detail, but we tell them it's a medical reason or personal circumstance. Maybe they have to go to court for some reason. There's been a death in the family, whatever. So we make sure that the faculty know and that the student will be trying their best to get caught up. We do a Don't Cancel That Class program. Faculty have lives, believe it or not. Sometimes they have to miss class because of a conference, a funeral, the medical appointment. They're out sick. So we created a list of workshops that we can take on the road, come into any class, and share information with the students so the faculty member doesn't have to cancel the class. We'll come in and do the class for them. Some faculty invite us in even if they are there because they want us to share information. So we have a long list of workshops that we can do. We serve on a variety of committees in our office, campus-wide committees, the Retention Strategies Committee, Retention Implementation Team. Retention is a big issue, of course. The Academic Policy Committee, the New Student Experience Committee, lots of different things that we're involved in. We sponsor the Seahawk Success Network program, which connects every new student, first year and transfer student, to a person in financial aid, OS3, and one of the student affairs staff members, so that they know that there's an adult who has them on their radar. So if there are questions about financial aid, you can talk to your Seahawk Success Network person. You want to know how to get involved on campus. You want to know about leadership opportunities. You talk to your student affairs person. Anything else, you can come talk to us. I said I'm the Seahawk Family Liaison. So we do all sorts of stuff to help our students be successful, thrive, and persist to graduation.
We know you just gave a list of everything that OS3 helps with. Do you think that there's one resource you have that is underused, that you think is like, this is really helpful for students, but we don't really get a lot of students coming in to, use that?
I wish more students would come in to meet with us. We do a lot of outreach to students because of the early alert system or because we've become aware of something. All we want to do is help our students. That's all we want to do. We have students who are on academic notice and struggling. We have students who are on Dean's List, but they want to continue to stay on Dean's List, so they come in and meet with us for accountability. We have lots of students in the middle, but we have a whole lot of students who don't respond to that outreach, and that just breaks my heart, because I know if they will let us support them, provide some strategies, they can be more successful. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. It's a sign of self-awareness. You know that you're at one place and you want to do better, but you need something to help you fill in that gap. That's what we do. We help fill in that gap. We connect those students to those resources. I can't tell you the number of times every day I walk up and down the stairs of Glendenning, bringing students to the business office, to financial aid, to residence life, to the registrar's office, down to the desk. Oh, here's the wall of forms. Let me get this form for you. Whatever. This is great. This is what we do. let us do our jobs. We're really, really good at our job. So let us do what we do best, and that's interacting with our students and helping them be successful. It's not a good thing to avoid us. So we want to encourage students to join us more than some of them do.
Reflecting on your now 33 years here, is there any particular moment or a student success story that really stands out to you?
Oh, there are so many moments. Again, in 1998, this is another example of community. We had an incident down in Guatemala, a study tour that went during winter break. 15 students, faculty, and staff went on this trip, and a couple of days before they were to fly home, the bus they were on got hijacked and was driven into a cornfield. And an Army officer with the Guatemalan Army happened to be driving by and saw the very top of that bus in the cornfield and went, something's not right here, and went to the nearest town, brought back police, and they arrested the people who did the kidnapping or hijacking. That made international news very quickly. One of the students, her father worked for ABC News. So, of course, when they got back to town, the students and our faculty and staff are all calling their family members and telling them what happened. And the person who worked at ABC News got in touch with the college and said, you need to know, this is going to break. You want to be prepared. Holy cow, we had international news people on campus. It was amazing. At the time, we did not have all of our residence halls locked. Only Queen Anne was locked 24/7.
Wow.
So one of the very first things I did after hearing that news people were walking through the buildings on the first day of class, asking people, throwing microphones in their faces, going, hey, what do you think about what happened to your peers down in Guatemala? Get out of here. I want to go to the bathroom. Get out of my face. So we locked the buildings up very quickly. What was really amazing was that once everyone got back from Guatemala and back on campus, no one knew who went to Guatemala. It was not public knowledge. So there weren't those kinds of questions. But everyone circled the wagons. We had newscasters here who were trying to get stories and getting people talking. Students didn't want to talk to them, didn't want them on campus. Faculty and staff didn't want them on campus, wouldn't talk to them. At the time, my office was located in the campus center before it looks like it does now. And I remember overhearing one of the people on a phone, one of the payphones, saying, you might as well bring me back to Washington. No one here is talking. This happened to be the day before the Monica Lewinsky, Bill Clinton thing erupted. So everybody fortunately left the next day anyway. But nobody talked to these people. And it was an amazing show of wanting to support our own and protecting our own, which I think is just amazing. We've had students I've worked with who got a 0.00 GPA, and they still managed to not only bounce back, but make it to Dean's List. Those students are my pride and joy. It's those kinds of stories where we get to work closely with the students that are just so special. Gotta love that.
We're at a point in the semester where, some incoming freshmen maybe still haven't decided on a major, or even sophomores and things like that. And it's hard to kind of commit to a certain major and career path. What advice would you give to current students who are feeling unsure about their career path or major, even if they haven't chosen one, or the one they've chosen just doesn't seem like the right fit for them?
Oh gosh, how many times have I worked with students and parents? The parents want one thing and the student doesn't want to have anything to do with that major. And there's this battle because the student doesn't want to disappoint the parents, but really doesn't think that they're going to be happy in this particular field, and walking them through how we manage all of that. Those are hard conversations, but necessary conversations. This is such a great time to explore. You try something new, go to a different activity or try a new club. Talk to people that you're not familiar with. So you learn more about their backgrounds, their cultures, where they're from, what they like, what they don't like. This is the best time to be an explorer and to try those new classes. Maybe you think, oh, history? What? I love history now. Oh my gosh, I had the best professor, and oh my gosh, my heart, my passion is now history. Or art therapy. Oh, I don't want to just do psychology. I don't want to do biology. I want to become an art therapist. Well, you know what? We have an art therapist in our counseling services. Go talk to them. Take some psychology classes. Take some biology classes. Whatever. All of that stuff. So this is the time to explore. Try those classes that you didn't think you might like. Thank you to our lead exploration classes that we have people take and the lead inquiries. But don't settle. Just because someone else is telling you, you should do this. It's not their career for the next 40 years. You have to live this career for the next 40 years. So find your passion and then follow your heart. I say that all the time. That passion piece is so critical. The Career Center, as you well know, has resources available. Take an inventory so that you can figure out, what are my interests? Where are my strengths? What are my skills? And what majors and careers might be connected to my interests and skills and strengths. Make use of that Career Center from the first year. Don't wait until second semester senior year. Start at your first year. Make use of ONET from Lead 111. When I used to teach Lead 111, that was the best part of the semester, getting the students to start thinking through, oh, this is a career for the zone I want to be in, and these are the skills I need, and this is interesting. Use that information. That is so important for our students to do. Talk to the faculty, your academic advisor, your instructors, the staff. Ask them about their careers. Ask them about why they're here, why they're teaching, what did they do before they came here. I came in through a very backdoor route. I shouldn't say this out loud, but I was never an RA. Back in my day, we didn't have RAs in the residence halls. I had a house mother. She was evil. Really, very, very bad. I kind of feel bad, but kind of sort of don't feel bad. She retired after my first year. My room happened to be right next door to hers. And we did some bad stuff that we probably shouldn't have done, but she was evil and she deserved it. Not that anyone should do that to the residence life staff here. I want to make that clear. Yes, RAs, RHCs, res life staff, you rock. But this is the time when you need to try new things out. So talk to these people on campus, the faculty, staff, whatever, about their lives and why they're doing what they're doing, and if they have advice for you. And then, pay attention to some of that advice, but live your life, because it's your life. I can give you advice. It's up to you to decide if you want to take it. We advise, you decide, right? Do internships. Awesome opportunities. Get an on-campus job. Great learning opportunities. When I was in college, we were lining up for graduation. And, we're all asking, hey, what are you going to do now that we're graduating? Oh, I'm going to go work here. I'm working at this school for the deaf. I'm going to go here, do that. And one of my peers said, I'm going back for a second degree. Really? Why? I found out during our student teaching semester at my school, our student teaching semester was our last semester, senior year. I realized I don't like teaching. Heck of a time to find that out, but yeah, so do those internships and get those jobs so you learn what you like, what you don't like, what you'll accept from a supervisor, what you won't accept, what your values are, all of that stuff. That's really important.
I found that it's fascinating when you talk to people that are in these different positions that you're working. It's like a lot of them didn't take a one-way path. It's
right.
not
Definitely.
they got this degree and then immediately got here. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have done several different things because life is long and it's allowed to be fruitful and you're allowed to take different options. So I really appreciate what you said there about hearing people's stories, because you really do hear that there are options out there.